In a world of challenges and uncertainties, hope shines as a beacon, guiding us through the dark times and showing us the way to brighter days ahead. But what exactly is hope? Where does it come from? And how does it shape our lives? I'm Annie Bennett, and I'd love you to join me on this journey as I explore the meaning of hope. I'll delve into philosophical perspectives, personal stories, and scientific insights to understand the power of this elusive emotion. So whether you're seeking inspiration, comfort, or simply a deeper understanding of the human spirit, let's embark on this exploration together and discover the extraordinary power of hope. Hello and welcome to the Chronicles of Hope podcast with me, Annie Bennett. I am so looking forward to chatting to my guest today. I've known Naomi for a while now, and she's just a fabulous person with an amazingly inspiring story, but I will let her tell that. So I'm very pleased to introduce Naomi Holbrook, who is the Unconventional Weightloss Coach. That is right, isn't it?
It's right. Yeah. Thank you,
Welcome,
Annie.
Naomi.
Welcome. And I know, how long have we known each other? A couple of years for
Yeah.
sure.
Yes, it has, hasn't it? In various different sort of ways and formations and networks and things. But and
Yeah.
of course you're local to me. You're just along the road, along the coast, aren't you, from me? So
I am just in
yes,
Hove. Yeah.
yes.
Thank you for having me on today. It's
Oh,
lovely to
you're
be here.
very, very welcome. Now, first of all, I always ask my guests to tell us who they are. Tell us a bit of your story and sort of how you've got to where you are today, really.
Yeah. So, as you said, I'm known as the Unconventional Weight Loss Coach. And I guess how that sort of transpired was that from the age of 9 till 39, I battled with disordered eating. So didn't realize it at the time, just thought I couldn't kind of control myself, didn't have enough willpower, didn't have enough discipline, motivation, all those things. But from childhood through to sort of 39, I battled constantly with food noise, disordered eating, binge eating, emotional eating, restrictive dieting, and just yo-yoed for really 3 decades. But a lot of that stemmed from real difficulties at school, just feeling like I didn't fit in, possibly a little bit of a spicy brain that has sort of in adulthood sort of really started to sort of, I guess, show itself. But as a child who struggled with health conditions at school, chronic health, and was always off school for long periods of time, I was constantly trying to catch up on schoolwork. And food became my friend, if I'm honest. I look back now, I went to an all-girls school, very competitive, always comparing myself to my peers, to the girls in the form above me. Everybody appeared to be leaner, sportier, smarter, all those different things. And food just became like a sort of daily comfort. And then tragically, when I was 12, my mum became chronically ill. And she was the baker in our family. Whenever we came home from school, there was always lovely goodies. And that my relationship with food massively changed, because then that kind of hub of our home and the kitchen and the baking and all those sort of things just all stopped. And my mum passed away 7 years later. And then my relationship with food really just catapulted throughout my 20s, my 30s. Alcohol became, something as well that I also sort of used to soothe emotions, because I just didn't know how to deal with all this grief that had nowhere to go. And depression from a really young age, anxiety, panic attacks that were a lot of them from sort of school, but also then throughout my mum's illness. And then at 39, completely turned my life around, transformed things, reversed all my chronic health conditions, healed my relationship with food, all those different things. And then 9 years ago, I did that really crazy thing of walking out of my corporate career. I'd had a successful 21-year corporate career in hospitality, luxury hospitality, in the health and wellness space. And then at 41, I hadn't realized at the time I was in perimenopause, and I was struggling with, whilst all my physical health conditions had been healed, I was struggling with my mental health, battling chronic chronic anxiety, panic attacks, really, really low self-esteem, low confidence, thinking that I was going to get fired from my job. And I walked out and left my career and I retrained. And this is how the Unconventional Weight Loss Coach came about.
Wow. Wow. So much to talk about here.
Lots in there.
Lots in there. Lots in there. Now, can we first of all talk about, because at the Chronicles of Hope, we support young adults who, are coping with a parent who have a life-limiting illness. So obviously, what happened to you and your mum is quite significant for us.
Yes.
So how did hope figure in, her becoming ill and the 7 years following that? How did hope sort of was there any hope?
Yeah. And you say that, and like it was the late 80s
Mhm.
and the early 90s. Mum died in 1994.
Mm.
Times were very, very different.
Yeah.
And mental health wasn't talked about.
No, it wasn't, was it? No.
Huge stigma.
Mm.
My father is still with us, 92. From the silent generation.
Mm.
Never complain, never explain, keep calm, carry on.
Mm.
So actually, I look back now and realize that everything was very contained as a family. So there was, yes, there was some external sort of medical support, but there was no kind of counseling or talking to anybody or anything like that. And I think growing up in a family where like we just put on a brave face,
Yeah. Gosh.
you don't realize until years later how damaging that actually is.
Mm.
So you say about hope there. We did have hope because it was an illness that didn't have, there weren't any certainties or any statistics or anything like that. We had hope throughout that she would actually get well again, that there would be a miracle cure, that something would happen. So I think there absolutely was hope, but a lot of that hope at that point was sort of false hope. It wasn't, it was hope that we were clinging on to,
Yeah.
but it didn't come with support and all those other elements. So yeah, I mean, looking back, it was an incredibly tough time. I was also 12 to 19. So, going through GCSEs, again, just a girl trying to figure out like who she is at that time of life, starting my periods and not being able to kind of have my mum go through any of that with me. My dad had to sort of navigate all of that with me. So yeah, I think there was always an element of hope, even when it didn't feel like there was inside.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the most vulnerable time of a woman's life, isn't it? After 12,
Yeah.
between 12 and 19.
Yeah.
I went to a all-girls school, so I know what the pressures were. Probably about the same, probably a bit before, sort of mid-80s. But yeah, I completely understand that, need for validation, that need for comparing yourself to others and feeling that you're falling short. Yeah.
Yes.
So completely with that. And then, of course, you had to cope with your mum being ill as well. What actually got you through it? Was it because you say you didn't really have much outside help or support? Was it just you as a family unit with your dad? Was that basically it?
Yeah, but even that was difficult because, we'd gone from having this, beautiful family home
Mm.
to, very hard working class parents, but, both bringing in a salary. My
Right.
mum had to actually be medically retired at 45,
Yeah.
so nowhere near pension. And basically we went from kind of, when I say having a really, a lovely lifestyle, everything changed. I mean, my dad, how he did it, I do not know, but he kept us both in private school and, kept all those term fees paid, but things absolutely shifted and changed.
Mm.
And my mum's illness meant that, you know, our whole household environment changed. We had to, you know, not, we weren't able to bring friends around. We weren't able to have events and things
Right.
at the house. We had to, you know,
Mm,
so I was kind of shipped out at Christmas to go and spend it with, you know, with friends and their families.
mm.
But you know what? Even in those moments, whilst I look back and some of them were incredibly painful, I think one thing, and I've actually got in touch with some of my old friends since and actually sent messages to their parents,
Yeah.
because their parents became kind of surrogate to me. You know,
Yeah.
a couple of my friends' mums became like surrogate mums, and they clearly knew what was going on, and they made it, you know, if I went to theirs at Christmas, they made it really special. They bought me presents.
Oh,
They made me feel like I was kind of, you know, part
yeah.
of their Christmas. So there were like, I guess there were pockets of hope in
Mm.
amongst a great big garment of dark grief and overwhelming pain. There were definitely pockets of hope. And you said what got me through, and this might sound really, really odd, but my Sony Walkman.
Oh, wow.
Music
Yeah.
became the biggest um comfort a lot, you know, like I said, alongside food. I'm really honest about that. Food became a really, really, you know, soul comfort for me, but actually music was a really big thing. And I used to go to bed at night and sometimes cry myself to sleep, just
Oh,
worrying about my mum, worrying about were we going to lose our house. And you know, because I heard conversations going on about,
yeah.
gosh, you know, how are we going to do everything with, you know, only one salary and all these different things. And I'd go to bed and I would just put my Walkman in, and back then it was cassette tapes.
Yes.
I'd
Yes.
play I'd play the cassettes
Pencil.
until they literally got chewed up. A couple of
Yeah.
my favorite albums, I had to go back and buy like a second one from Woolworths because the first one had got so chewed up. But music, I was quite I'm gonna say it, I was a bit of a loner. I You know, I had friends, but because I was always so far behind in my schoolwork,
Yeah.
I was always having extra tuition at weekends, in school holidays. So whilst my friends were all going out and having play dates and doing this, I was at home studying, or I was at home doing like last
Yeah.
term's coursework because I hadn't kind of caught up with it. So things were quite insular,
Mm.
but I had things that I used to grip onto. And for me, music was absolutely, and it still is to this day.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, because it became such a source of support.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like I even knew these bands, like the words they were saying kind
Right.
of
Yeah.
were, you know, were sort of, you know, to do with my
Yeah.
situation and my scenario.
Which were your favorite bands, Naomi? I need to know
Oh
this now.
gosh. Okay. I am showing my age. I was a massive Brossette,
Oh,
absolutely huge Brossette. So Bros. Um, yeah, I used to literally listen to that album Push on repeat until it literally broke and I had to buy a second copy. I also loved Erasure, Soft Cell,
great.
still have some of their sort of LPs here, but yeah, you know, all the sort of 80s, Bananarama, Duran Duran. But I think a couple of them, you know, if I think about like Bros and a couple of them, I think I just connected with the words, and it
Yeah.
just offered me the support that I needed at that time that I wasn't getting from other areas.
Yeah. That was amazing. I mean, what you're saying about, um, you know, not being able to have people, you know, your friends to your house
Yeah,
is perhaps an unseen side of, you know, having a parent that is ill, in that your whole social life, you know, it is important for a young person to have a social life,
yeah.
but obviously in the scheme of things, in the context you're in, it's not necessarily seen as the most important thing, is it?
No,
But of course, it absolutely has knock-on effects that you can't have people back because, you know, your mum's there and yeah. So, I mean, how did you cope with that? Did you find you were able to sort of maintain friendship relations, or was it quite tricky?
yeah, I think I had a couple of very close friendships, and
Yeah.
they have actually, you know, I'm 50 now, and those friendships have kind of, you know,
Oh,
blossomed actually, if anything, in over the 42 years. But I didn't have lots of friends, and I think I found ways to, like, when I say kind of entertain myself,
yeah.
just, you know, whether it was music in my room, whether it was going out somewhere into a park and listening to my headset there. But I used to just find ways of, like, I guess, entertaining myself, really, that didn't involve needing somebody else to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose in the big scheme of things, it's quite a resilient thing to be able to be in your own space and entertain yourself. I think, having been a teacher for 30 years, I've come across so many children that just can't cope when there aren't friends around them and they don't know what to do with themselves. So to have that independence of, well, I know what I'll do. I'm by myself today, but I'll go and listen to music and I'll go and be productive in some kind of way. It's a real skill to have, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I live alone, I'm single, and actually, ironically, you say that it was a skill I learnt. However, in my 20s and my 30s and my early 40s, it's like it kind of had gone away, and I was
Mm.
desperate to be surrounded by people, desperate to have a busy calendar, a social life, to always be going out. And then actually, when the pandemic hit, funnily enough, that for me became like a turning point again. And
Yeah.
I think because, I lived alone, and my dad was 300 miles away, so I couldn't technically have a bubble. There was nobody to, like, put in my bubble.
Yeah.
So I kind of went almost full circle back to, like, a bit of kind of childhood, and was like, I kind of connected with my inner child again, and got music back out again, and got, crafts and things. I bought myself a fuzzy felt set.
Oh my.
I had loved fuzzy felt in my childhood. It had literally been like one of those things that I just used to love playing with.
Oh.
So in the pandemic, age
Was it
45,
the farm? Was it the farm, Naomi? Yes.
of course it was the farm. It's the best. Although I have to say, fuzzy felt 21st century era now, it's not like the fuzzy felt it was. It has been upgraded, and not like, not for the best reasons.
Oh God, I love that so much. That
Yeah.
is brilliant.
But I bought myself a fuzzy felt set, and I started doing a few crafts and
Yeah.
coloring again. And over the last 5 6 years, 5 years now, God, I absolutely adore being alone. I love being with company. I love being with friends. I love doing things, but I actually love doing a lot of things on my own. And I think it's funny because when I did go through therapy only a couple of years ago for all the trauma that I suffered from my mum's illness and death, my therapist actually said, and we were actually having therapy during the pandemic, during the lockdown, and she said, you were actually trained for this scenario. You don't realize it, but
Yeah.
you were literally trained for lockdown, because that's kind of what we experienced
Yeah.
when my mum was really ill, that we were in a lockdown in our own home,
Yeah.
and we couldn't see people, or if we did, we went out and we just visited them. And so, yeah, it's quite odd, but actually it almost like prepared me for it.
Yeah. It's odd, isn't it? I think a lot of people found their own sort of self-sufficiency
Yeah.
during lockdown, and things did change a lot generally in society, didn't they?
Mm.
Yeah. Now, then my next question is, and I'm intrigued because you said that at 39, things changed.
Yes.
I want to know what it was. What was the trigger and what happened for everything to turn round? Tell us about that.
Yeah. And obviously, your podcast is all about hope.
Mm,
And actually, I had learned helplessness.
right.
So almost like hopelessness. I had got to a point where I thought I could never change. Like, I'd had, chronic back pain for years from childhood. I was born with scoliosis,
Mhm.
had chronic back pain, had numerous different medical interventions, treatments, all sorts of things. In my mid 30s, ended up actually having spinal surgery and a lumbar fusion and a discectomy. And so I'd had all this learned hope, sort of helplessness of, oh, it's just the way I am, like my eating problems, it's just the way I am. I'm an emotional eater, I'm this, I'm that. So there was a lack of hope for many, many years, although you'd have never have known, because on the outside, I put on a mask and I had a successful career and everyone thought I was happy. And then I had my 39th birthday. And the truth is, I saw the photos a couple of days afterwards,
Yeah.
and I just didn't recognize myself. And it wasn't even just like my body, it was this sallow skin, this grayness. And I remember seeing my eyes in the picture and thinking, I just look so unhappy. Even though I was smiling, I
Yeah,
looked so unhappy.
the eyes, isn't it? Yeah.
It was just a giveaway. And I just thought, oh my God. And I suppose the thought of turning 40 a year later was
Right.
like, oh my gosh, like 40 is a big, when you're 39, 40 feels like the biggest number. And
Yeah.
also, I think midlife for me, obviously losing my mum, you know, she was 45 when she got sick, 52 when she died. The thought of getting into my 40s
Yeah.
actually had quite a bit of fear attached to
Mm.
it.
Yeah.
And so at 39, I just thought, I don't want to be like this at 40. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to, you know, I was drinking a lot,
Yeah.
you know, socially, but also drinking at home on my own and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I don't want this anymore. So literally, March the 4th, which is actually really, really bizarre because one of my clients pointed out to me a few months ago, she went, your book was published on the 4th of March. And I was like, oh my gosh, I
Ooh.
hadn't even realized, but the 4th of March 2016, when I turned 39, was my kind of absolute turning point when I was just like, I'm done. I don't want to be in pain anymore. I
Yeah.
don't want to have poor health. I want to feel energized, all those different things. And so that's when I literally, you know, just I started, I know we all call it this journey and it
Yeah.
sounds a bit kind of cheesy and what have you, but I started my journey of transformation and it started physically. It started with like the external,
Yeah.
and then it has literally kind of gone full circle and been, you know, a complete internal transformation as
Yeah.
well. But yeah, that literally happened 3 days after my 39th birthday. I was like, I'm
Mm.
done. And I don't want to carry on this way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wonder whether it felt different then, because obviously, I'm someone who's, struggled with weight and various issues. And you do get that, right, it's different today and and then it all peters out, doesn't it? But
Yes.
what was it that it must have been different for it to really take hold that at that point?
Yeah, I just, my mental health was dreadful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it had been for decades. I had hidden depression, anxiety, unhealed trauma, all those different things. And I think it really was, I want to feel free. I don't want, like, my brain on a daily basis was just absolute scramble.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, I think it was just, and once I started to feel better and started to look better and started to just sleep better and everything, it was kind of this snowball of like wanting more of it, wanting to feel even better.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you get a little taste of something, you think, I want more of this, don't you? And then you
Yes.
said, was it when you were 41, 42, you then stopped your corporate? Was that
Yeah.
going into your
41.
then self-employment at that point? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so 41, I did the unthinkable. I had two mortgages on my own, no partner,
Yeah.
no backup plan, no plan B. But honestly, my mental health was in tatters. And I thought, if I do not resign, I don't know. I literally was at that absolute desperation point.
Yeah. I know.
And
Yeah.
so I resigned from my corporate career. There was a lot of tears. There was a lot of soul searching. There was a lot of what do I do next? And I remember having a call with a previous mentor of mine. She was actually a mentor for me in my corporate job, and she lived in San Francisco. And I messaged her and I said, "Listen, could I just have like a 10-minute call with you, anything at all?" And I said, "I've got this idea. I've obviously lost 70 pounds myself, gone through my own weight loss transformation journey, reversed all these health conditions. I want to help women. I want to help other women that feel like they're about to walk out of their corporate job, that feel
Mm.
lost, that feel all these different things." And she was like, "Oh my God, you can absolutely do it." And I was like, "Oh, I know, but I need to get requalified and retrained and this and that." And she encouraged me not to. She was like, "You
Ah,
don't, you've got life experience. You don't need letters and certifications and all those different things." But I guess there was a little part of me that was like, "Oh, I do."
yeah.
I I do. I need, if it's for me, if nothing else. So that's when I then went on my, I retrained. I then started to work with my own coaches in 2019.
Mm,
And my business and my brand has evolved. And the Unconventional Weight Loss Coach actually has only been really around a year and a half, May last year. And
mm,
that's because so many women were coming to work with me and saying, oh my God, this is like so different to anything else I've ever, like,
mm,
they've done 30 years of diets, 40 years of diets, come in, experience the smart formula and the program
mm.
and the way that I work, and gone, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, like in a good way, but
Yeah,
this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And then, one of my coaches said to me, I think you need to rebrand yourself, because people think you're just a weight loss coach or just a fitness coach, and you're not, you don't do any of that.
yeah,
And that's where the Unconventional Weight Loss Coach came
yeah,
from.
yeah. I mean, it's a very different way that you teach. Very
Yes,
different, isn't it? And the whole, attitude about not only food, but other aspects of a healthy life as well. And they're
absolutely.
equally as important, aren't
Yeah,
they?
because it's
Yeah,
not the food, it's not the weight, it's our emotions, it's our nervous system, it's our belief system, it's
yeah.
our
Sleep.
trauma. Yes, sleep,
Yeah,
trauma that we had in childhood that has maybe not been healed or processed. It's
yeah.
all those different elements. And if all you ever do is like count the calories and do the workouts, everything else gets missed.
It's all still there, isn't it? Because there's so much on, emotional eating and why we eat
Yeah.
and all that. So when you left your corporate, you didn't start as a weight loss coach to start with, or no? What was?
No, well, I at first I just kind of was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And it was also that thing of, I'd had my corporate career for 21 years, and I thought to myself, at 41, I need to do something that I love for
Yeah,
like the next 25 years. I
absolutely.
don't want to be like chopping and changing and doing that. So I did start out as a weight loss coach, but literally as a weight loss coach. Whereas
Right.
now, I help women with all aspects
Mm.
of menopause,
Yeah,
actually helping them to improve their confidence, to be able to start their own businesses, or to be
mm,
able to, apply for promotions that they would never apply for before. When I first started, it really was just about the weight loss.
yeah.
But that's also because over the last sort of 6 years, my journey has evolved so much as
Good.
I
Yeah.
have realized what it takes to have the confidence, the belief, the change, the identity, all those different things. And then I started in 2019 doing a massive amount of research into neuroscience,
Mhm.
and have worked with some incredible coaches across the world, and brought a lot of those techniques and strategies into my programs and formulas. But yeah, originally I started out kind of as just a weight loss coach, but it has evolved so much now.
But there's an element, isn't there, of you don't always know what you don't know yet.
Yes.
So you start,
100%.
I mean, it's the same with my bakers. I started working sort of 5 years ago with the knowledge that I had, but it soon became, oh, there's this and there's that and and I do a lot of confidence and mindset stuff as well
Yeah.
because it's part of who we are as humans, isn't it? It's all interlinked.
And you can't leave, if you leave these pieces out,
Yeah.
they're fundamental parts of you.
Absolutely, absolutely. You can't sort of mend, if, for want of a better word, one aspect of you because it's so linked. I mean, food particularly is so
Yes.
linked to every aspect
Yeah.
because if you're food addicted, I'm obviously talking to the expert here, but if you're food addicted, you can't just give up food.
No, it's
It's
not like alcohol, it's not
a
like
factor.
drugs.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to, and of course this is, the modern society, isn't it? When we were cavemen, we were out running around hunting
Yeah,
bears and tigers.
absolutely.
You know,
Life has evolved so much, but our brain hasn't.
yeah,
And so it's still wired in the same way as it was decades ago,
yeah,
centuries ago. And that's what causes a lot of the problems now.
yeah, yeah. And I'm always saying, that the schools should be looking more at mindset and
100%.
absolutely. I mean, it was coming in a little bit when I, retired, but I'm not getting the impression that it's getting anymore taught in schools.
No.
The whole, you know, the mindset, and I'm responsible for my actions, and I can make choices, and I can be skilled at anything that I put my mind to, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's all to do with determination,
Absolutely.
perseverance, and resilience, isn't it? It's those three things. So how did the unconventional weight loss coach, how did that sort of manifest itself? Was it suddenly a light bulb moment? Oh my
Yeah, a couple of things got thrown in the hat. And what was one of them? One of them was the alternative weight loss coach. And I was like, oh, it just doesn't sound, I don't know, it just didn't sound
God.
quite right. It didn't sound
Alternative has got yeah, hasn't it?
like,
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I kept thinking like a bit kind of hippie like.
Yes. Yes.
And I was like, that
It's
just
not that
doesn't.
there's anything wrong with hippies, of course.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it just didn't feel like it fit with
Wasn't
what I
right for
was,
you.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then when the word the unconventional came up, I was like, oh yeah, now that sounds like the one.
Yeah.
And you said there about you don't know what you don't know, but also what you think you want and what you actually need are also two different things.
Yes. Yes. Because again, in society, we are, it's sort of drummed into us that we must get a job, we must earn money, we must get a house, we must, get a car and then retire. And what we're not taught really is actually what makes you happy.
Yeah.
What makes you happy? And it's, success is a completely different thing to necessarily having lots of money, isn't it?
Yes.
Although
Yeah.
money helps,
It
but
does, absolutely. But like you said, so many of us have been brought up to think that success is the house, the car, the career, the business, the money. What about if success is the fulfillment, the freedom, the
yeah,
joy, the peace, the
yeah,
calm, all
absolutely.
those other things?
Absolutely. And we're very similar in that we're sort of both finding that, aren't we, in our lives, what we do. I love what I do, you love what you do. And it's almost evangelical in that, you want to and I want to spread the word to say you don't have to be in a job you don't like.
Yes.
That there are choices, and there are, whatever barriers you have. I talk to a lot of teachers who say, oh, I couldn't, not earn what I earn.
Yeah.
So, well, you have to look at the, perhaps I might have to make a few sacrifices, but, in the long term, I could do it. So you just have to be brave, don't you?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what's next for you, Naomi? What's next on the Naomi Holbrook agenda?
I feel like I almost haven't stopped to think about that. It's been, as well, it's been such a crazy but amazing year. Obviously, had my first book published
Yeah.
in March this year, spoke on my first stage at the Big
Yes,
Festoon in
you
March.
did. It was
That
fabulous.
has gone on to being on radio several times,
Yeah.
some incredible features in, magazines, in national papers.
Yeah.
Um, but I am on an absolute mission. And I think, what I do want to do is I want to have a bit of time to reflect in the coming weeks, especially
Yeah.
with, a new year coming, and look at what that means. But you touched on something there and said about schools.
Yeah.
And even though I work with women generally sort of 45 plus,
Mhm.
what I know that my program and my work does is it impacts the next generation, because so many women who work with me say, it's already had an impact on my teenage daughters. It's already had an impact on how I am as a mum, all these different things. And I know that there is not enough education in schools on, health, wellness, all those different areas. And I think if I look back to myself, there are so many children that slip through the net, and I could have gone a whole different direction in my life. I could have gone down a very, very different path. And I think if there's things that we can break that next generation, that they don't have to go through. I work with women that come to me sometimes in their 60s and 70s that have battled from such a young age. And I think to spend all those years of your
Yeah.
life battling on something that you don't need to battle on, if there was a re-education piece or
Yeah.
a support piece. So that is definitely something I would like to do, is to be able to get involved and to help with, with an education piece would be absolutely
Yeah.
amazing.
That would be fab. And I think you're the person to do it. You have the determination, Amy. I won't doubt at all that you'll be there doing it. Oh, that sounds fabulous. Oh, and we're coming to the end of our time. That's such a shame. I'd love talking to
Go
you.
so quickly.
But I do ask all my guests, and I wonder if you have a message of hope for my listeners. What would your message of hope be?
Yeah, I think my message of hope would be that it's never too late to change your story.
Fabulous. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we live these beliefs, labels,
Mm,
other people's beliefs,
yes. Oh, yes.
not even our own. We live our life based on limitations, labels that other people have put on us. And then we've just kind of, formed that identity. And not only have I managed to, let go of all those labels and limitations, but helped other women to do the same. So I think that's my message of hope, is that whatever story you're telling yourself, you can change it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true, isn't it? What your beliefs are don't have to stay your beliefs, do they?
Yes.
You can change your story. Oh, that's fabulous. So inspiring, Naomi. Naomi Holbrook, thank you so much for talking with me today. Now, if people want to get hold of you, I will put links in the show notes, but
Yes.
tell us how they can get hold of you.
I'm on most of the platforms. So
she's everywhere.
Keep it fairly simple. On Instagram, I'm Naomi Holbrook Coach. On Facebook, Naomi Holbrook. LinkedIn, Naomi Holbrook. And then obviously website is www.theunconventionalweightlosscoach.com.
Excellent. But as I said, that'll all go in the show notes, so all the links will be there. Naomi, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for listening to the Chronicles of Hope podcast with me, Annie Bennett. I hope you found inspiration, comfort, or perhaps even a newfound perspective around the meaning of hope. To find out more about the aims of the Chronicles of Hope organisation, please visit thechroniclesofhope.org, where you will find links to our social media accounts and where you will be able to make a much needed and appreciated donation. Thank you.